I'd like to call this meeting of Sebastian Construction Board to order September 24th, 18. We'll have a call to order. That's me. Pledge of Allegiance. Flag of the United States of America. We'll have a roll call.
Yes. Ms. Carbano?
Here.
Mr. Fortier? Here. Mr. Hosey?
Here.
Mr. Crockett?
Here.
Mr. Monero? Here. Mr. Wiltshire?
Here.
Ms. Harris?
Harris, here.
Thank you.
Okay. Now I'd like to get approval for the minutes from our last meeting on June 26th, 18.
I move approval as presented. Second.
Okay. We have an approval and a second. Under announcements, old business, we have none. New business, we have some new board members. Last time I forgot to acknowledge Pam Paris, and Richard Wiltshire is new tonight, so thank you very much.
Excuse me, do you want me to call the roll on
Yes,
the
please, I'm
motion?
sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Fortier? Yes. Mr. Crockett?
Yes.
Ms. Carbano?
Yes.
Mr. Hosey?
Yes.
Mr. Monero? Mr. Wiltshire?
Yes.
And Ms. Paris? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. We're here tonight because of a disciplinary hearing. Would you like to present it to us, Wayne? You want them sworn in before? Okay. I'd like to swear in anybody who's going to give any testimony this evening, please. Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the factual statements and factual representations which you are about to give or present before or to this construction board during this public hearing will be truthful and accurate?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now we'll go on to, Wayne, would you like to present the matter?
Yes. Thank you, Construction Board. I'm Wayne Esseltine, City of Sebastian Building Official. This matter tonight is a disciplinary hearing, and this is in regards to Mr. Sergio Seligman, doing business as Panda Contractors and Panda Roof. The violation occurred at 874 Riviera Avenue in Sebastian. The applicable code section of the City Code of Ordinances, section 26172, and that as the following acts constitute cause for disciplinary action under this article: willful, deliberate disregard or violation of the applicable building codes of the city, Florida Building Code 105.1. A building permit is required to be obtained prior to performing structural, electrical, and plumbing alterations. Essentially what's happened here is we had a contractor complaint come in July of this year. The date of the offense was in March of 2018. This is from Steve and Denise Ferguson, the owners of 874 Riviera Avenue. And their complaint was against Panda Contractors for some work that they did they were unsatisfied with for a bathroom remodel. When we investigated the complaint, we found out that there was never any permits pulled for that remodel work. And clearly it was a contract from Panda Contractors to Mr. Ferguson regarding installing electrical. There was some plumbing work that was done, and there was, let's see, sorry. Yeah, some electrical and plumbing work that had to be done in order to do the work, and there was some ventilation, some mechanical work as well. In this contract, they outlined what their scope of the work was going to be. There was a couple of checks that were written to Panda Contractors that were cashed from the owners, one for $4,000, another one for $8,122. I think the total contract price was, that was the full amount, $12,122. So that's essentially
Okay.
it. Okay.
All right.
Right. Thank you.
The board may ask questions.
Anybody have
Anyone
questions?
have any questions?
Ms. Jop?
He's paid the entire amount of the contract as if the contract was completed.
Yes, it looks like it was paid in full.
However, the complaint states that it is incomplete.
The owner's here to testify, but I do not believe that it is.
Is someone here that is going to testify?
Yes, the owner's here.
The owner?
Yes.
Okay. Is the contractor or representative of the contractor here?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Okay, and they're gonna talk because I have questions, but it's really for the three gentlemen, not you.
Yeah, the procedure will be, I'm introducing the topic, and then you guys can bring up the owner, and then you can bring up the contractor.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay? Anyone else?
I'd like to call the gentleman from Panda Contractors. Sergio, please come up and give your name and address, please.
My name is Sergio Zeligman. I live in 1300 Poitras Drive in Vero Beach, Florida.
Okay. Would you like to give us your interpretation?
We did a job. It was finished. It was paid for. I signed all the papers for the permits. Were given to our production manager at the moment. He's not working with us anymore, and apparently he did not present it to the city. We thought it was done like we do all our jobs. We always get permits for all our roofing.
Wouldn't you have called for an inspection?
Exactly, where I was heading.
That was his responsibility, and that's one of the reasons he's not working for us anymore. And it was asked, it was properly finished. The whole job was done. I was surprised when I received these, and I verified that you're right. It was not the permit was not.
I don't want to speak for anybody, but that's impossible for me to believe that somebody that's no longer working there,
Well,
was supposed to file.
Please no.
You have to have paperwork. It's impossible.
Well,
we all work in construction. We know how it goes.
No,
It's
I did all the paperwork. We did all the paperwork to be done, and it was supposed to have been handed in. It wasn't done. It was a lot of work done at that time, and it just slipped through the cracks.
So you paid for all materials. There was no NTOs. There's no nothing.
We couldn't find anything. No,
Nothing.
you're right.
And your billing department didn't have anything where, hey, we didn't actually pay for the permit. There's no red flags. You have no controls.
At that moment,
In
we
your
didn't know.
company.
We had a lot of work at the moment.
The one person is responsible for that.
We had a person. The office manager was supposed to have been responsible, The production manager was supposed to have been responsible. It was not properly done, and these are things that did happen.
Here's how it works. As the general contractor, you're responsible.
I understand.
You're responsible for all daily actions, you're responsible for having controls in your office, and you're responsible to make sure that this kind of stuff doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
To think that you're gonna come up here and blame
Well, I'm
somebody
just
that
saying-
no longer works there?
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm just saying what happened. You asked me.
That's
I'm
your
answering.
prerogative.
I mean,
Yes.
that's what I can do. I mean, I can say whatever you want to. I mean, I can tell you, I'm telling you the truth, you know. I am not blaming, you're right. The fault falls on me.
Another question for you, sir. I noticed in the contract, I don't see anything, it's that lists for permits as far as funding.
I didn't either.
So you are, I guarantee you're not just gonna pay for that out of,
What's that again?
there's nothing listed on getting a permit for fees or anything.
Well, it's part of the job.
It's listed in every contract I've looked at, and I looked at about 50 of them a day almost.
We don't put it sometimes in a contract, we put it in, it's part of our service. I mean, we normally do that. It's part of what we do. Most of our contracts do not state that. It's
I
normal
have
for us to do
another
it.
question. You had a plumbing contractor, IRC Plumbing.
Yes,
He didn't say it's time to call for an inspection, or was that your foreman's job?
No, it was his job at that time.
His job, and
Yeah.
he didn't think he had to
didn't
call
think-
either?
Apparently, he didn't believe he was, I really don't, I cannot talk for him.
Okay.
You know, I really don't know. You're 100%.
And you had no idea that Mr. Ferguson was unhappy?
Last time we tried to speak to Mr. Ferguson, we tried to get back to his place. He refused to let us go back to his place. He asked for us not to go back. He spoke with us. He said he wasn't pleased with some things. We said we wanted to go back and check his place out, and he said that he didn't want us to go back to his place, so we couldn't go back.
And
We tried to do it, and we couldn't go back.
it looks like he did some electrical as well?
No, we did no electrical.
No electrical?
No.
So you didn't put a fan in?
Yeah, he put a fan in.
How was that wired up to?
No, it wasn't. We didn't put a phone in that job,
It was a fan.
It's in the contract.
but it was never done. That was never done.
Okay.
That was never done.
So you did no electrical, okay, because we're gonna talk to the owner.
Yeah, it was
no
never done.
electrical.
I mean,
Okay.
it was not done.
Okay.
We never got to that. We were supposed to have gone back to do some work, apparently the electrical part, and Mr. Ferguson, as far as that's what I heard from the office.
So you billed for complete, and yet you weren't done?
Well, the fan was ready to be installed, and Mr. Ferguson called that we can't, we don't really want us to go back. So we
Okay,
couldn't go
well,
back.
we're gonna hear his statement as
Sure,
well,
no,
so.
definitely.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying what it was informed to our office, our secretary, well, that's what they told us. We tried to call him back, and we couldn't get back to him.
Okay.
Do you have an exclusive contract for this luxury bath, or
Yes,
is
we
that
do.
something anybody can do?
No.
You have the exclusive for this area?
Luxury bath, yes, we do.
Okay,
The brand, luxury bath is ours, yes.
okay.
It's not ours, I'm sorry, we are
Right, I looked at it online.
Okay.
It's hard for me to tell. Is it like a jacuzzi tub, something like that?
no, it's an ABS material, it's a material that
Kind of
doesn't
like
require
bath fitters, isn't it kind of like bath fitters or something? a
something
little
similar, but
similar?
it has a microban on it, so
Yeah.
it's very easy to clean, no mildew,
You, in
That's
just clean it
kind
with water and soap, basically.
That's kind of what I think.
okay, and there's no power to that at all?
Power? No.
Yeah,
No,
because a lot of the tubs have these
No,
weird things.
we also sell the electrical,
Yeah, I know. Okay, that's what I was asking.
the walk-in tub.
Yep.
This wasn't the case.
Okay,
This was like similar to those things that you see in some motels that are fiberglass.
Okay.
But the same fiberglass is built into the place.
okay. Let me see.
I got a question. Trying to figure out, how far did you get with the project? Did it complete, or like what stage did you leave it at?
How far did we get on that, Isaac? We were complete except for the fan.
What was that?
99% of the job was done.
So if you had a punch list, what were the last items remaining on it?
The fans, the electrical part, we never got to that. As far as I, that's what yeah, everything else
Yet
was done.
you collected 100% of the money, though.
Yes, normally, that's the way it has been set up. Mr. Ferguson paid us the full amount. We never denied going back to his place. We never said we won't go back. We never said we're not, we service our people constantly. I mean, we go to our people, I mean, this product is lifetime guaranteed, the product. So why would we won't go back? I mean, we do it, we do it whenever it's necessary. So we do not refuse to go back. If the customer doesn't want to let us back into his house, what can we do? What can we do? Can't go back to finish the job. So then, now he's complaining.
It's a lifetime guarantee, but the fact that you didn't pull a permit, it may be
Well,
useless.
that's one thing, you're right. I grant you. And I apologize for that. And yes, you're right. I'm sorry that this happened. But the fact that we did not finish, or if it was 98, 97, 99, or 90, 95%, whatever finished, we could have finished it if we were been allowed to go back. We would do anything. We've gotten to a point where we've done bathrooms again to people if people are not pleased because we've contacted the company.
That was gonna be my question. Did you make any attempts to remedy this? Meaning,
We did. We tried
So
to
you
remedy
did.
by approaching Mr. Ferguson. He did not want us to go back.
Well,
What can we do?
Well, you can understand his frustration there. I mean, you can
What do you do?
appreciate that.
Show up in the house, knock the door down? I mean,
No, I understand.
I can't
I
do that.
understand.
I mean, I can't, we can't do something if the gentleman there wants to go back. I mean, he signed the contract. We tried our best to do it right, a good job. We have done hundreds of these jobs. Unfortunately, it's the only one we've had any problems with.
Okay.
I mean, we do them all over, from as far as down to, Fort Pierce, Port St. Lucie, all the way up to Satellite Beach. I mean, we do this every day, and we really have had no problems with them. Things happen, And I am very unfortunately that this happened, and we work with the Sebastian Building Department constantly, expand the roof, and you can check on we've never failed pulling contracts, permits, and hey, things happen.
Or it's never been exposed. I mean, it's.
Well, you can
Go
pay.
both ways.
I welcome you to check it. I am sure that we do everything right. I've been a general contractor since 1973, and I am very straightforward, very honest, and I try to do everything by the book. Yes, things go through the cracks, especially when we were so busy due to the hurricane. We're really busy in the roofing area mostly. We're really focusing on that because we had a lot of work in the roofing area, and things went through it. Things were going too fast, and yes, things slipped through. I mean, if you see this every day, or if you're in the construction business, you know things like this happen. I mean, it shouldn't happen. You're right. It should not happen. It happened.
Okay.
At what point did you realize that there was no permit pulled?
When I got this letter. Really, I'm really had no idea.
Wouldn't you, if you had it in a job folder per se, you had it in a job folder, how could you close that job folder without a permit, without a final permit?
You're 100%. This was said to the office manager, and not for this reason. The person that was the production manager should have done that is not working for us anymore. We had different kind of issues with jobs of people that were not contacted on time or whatever.
Right.
He was over producing. Apparently, he was too much for him, and just didn't do things like he was supposed to do them. I mean,
Have you ever spoke to Mr. Ferguson?
Me personally?
You personally?
No, we tried to call from the office.
No, I mean you.
Well, we tried calling.
Not we. Have you?
I called.
You did call.
I think I spoke to Mr. Ferguson once, and he was. I believe I did. This was a while back. I mean, I talked to some customers when they, in other words, we tried to get people over there, okay? My partner here, Isaac Perez, he's the person more in charge of the office, running around, and of this luxury bath area, and he tried to contact him. I mean, and we could not do it. I mean, that's as far as I got with Mr. Ferguson. The fact that it was put on the agenda in our meetings. Has it been done? Mr. Ferguson didn't want to speak to us. He contacted another contractor that knew us, because I think he wanted to try to do work with him, and the contractor called us and says, I'm not gonna touch this, you know, I don't wanna touch this job because.
Blame him.
Mr. Seligman, are you prepared to go back and complete the job?
Sure,
All you need to do is, with his permission, to go back and complete the work.
sure.
And are you prepared to open up anything that needs to be open to get inspections, which is what you need to do?
Sure.
You
Whatever.
need to go back. You need to go back, because if you did any in your plumbing, did you come through the floor?
Yes.
No, we have to go through a
You
floor.
did no structural work at all?
It says, it does say you had to do a drain or something. I
Like a
read
drain, but
it.
the drain is we just changed the drain that was there and put a new drain on top where it fits.
And I think you also
in the thing.
used
had to
you
go
put a
through the
diverter in
slab.
the wall.
What?
It says that you put a diverter in the
Yeah,
wall.
we put a diverter in the wall because diverter is exactly what the other diverter, we'll do whatever has to be done.
No, it means that, what I'm saying though is, it's written here that you said you put a diverter in the wall and you did some underground plumbing.
No, the underground plumbing is because we have to put the drain in the place. But basically, if I don't recall the job exactly, normally what happens is we remove whatever is there, either top or
It says right here, cut and patch concrete slab for plumbing drain.
Right.
okay.
See, to me, as the contractor, Isaac's not the contractor, you are.
Right.
So to me, as the contractor, I don't understand why you didn't elevate this to a level of where you should make the call, you should go take a look at it, you should try to figure it out, because you're overall responsible.
Okay.
You know, you keep talking about an office manager and this. I see this a lot. This is just about, to me, passing the buck, and that's only my opinion.
Well, it does, I mean, obviously, we cannot, as a general contractor, there are things you have to pass down to other people that work with you. And you try to get everybody doing work in the office. When it gets to a point where we definitely, when we have to get the issue resolved, yes, I usually step in. We were not able to step in with Mr. Ferguson.
As a certified general contractor, you're required by law, by Chapter 489, to supervise the work.
Or have somebody that I trust doing it for me.
And supervising work includes signing permits to get your permits.
I do.
You have to sign every one of them.
I sure do.
You didn't sign this one.
Well, I signed the document, normally I sign the
You sign
documents.
documents and leave them lying around in your
and then-
office?
No, and then somebody takes it into the town to present it. I don't go personally. You can't expect me to go here, go there, to present it myself.
Somebody's got to do some supervision, or you wouldn't wind up in the situation you're in.
You exactly, I mean, this is one thing that happened, and I'm sorry. I apologize. You're right, I did not get a permit for this job. Yes, I'm willing to finish the job if necessary. What else can I say?
But that's what needs to be done. You need the inspections. You need to go back to finish the job, open up everything so the inspectors can see it
Yeah,
and approve it, or disapprove it and repair it, so it's acceptable and so it can be finished.
okay.
Now, it's up to the owner as to whether or not he's going to let you back in there, but we'll find out, I imagine, pretty soon.
Sure,
Yeah, because there's two sides to everything.
yeah,
so.
whatever. We'll do whatever is necessary to be done, get it resolved.
I have a question before you leave. Who is Ken Faulkner?
The salesman,
The salesman? And is he the guy that doesn't work for you anymore?
he doesn't work for us anymore either.
Either.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, how is it that Ken Faulkner could go write this up? Did he think he didn't need a permit? Is that the reason why maybe he didn't apply for one?
No, did he say that?
No, I don't know who he is. I'm
Oh,
asking
no,
you,
he's
who
a
is
salesman,
he?
no, he's a salesman.
He's a salesman.
No, he's a salesman, he doesn't make a
Okay.
decision of permits.
So when someone makes a sale, then who brings it back to your company and makes sure that permits are being pulled?
Well, we do that in the office. It goes to our office manager. It goes through steps. Now, we've been, solving the flow of things to make sure that nothing skips through the cracks. And, he eventually gets all these jobs to get permits.
Well, I mean,
All
because
these jobs should get permits.
my feeling is that someone wrote this contract and it felt like they didn't need a permit to remodel the bathroom.
No, I don't, I know,
Where-
because
'cause
we know
there's-
if we have to work, no, I know that if we have to work plumbing,
Plumbing, electrical,
electrical, whatever, we have to go.
right.
I mean, I know that.
If
I mean,
you're
there's no- there's no-
replacing some tile.
There's no ifs and buts about it. No, it's not, we're not fixing tiles here.
Right.
We're replacing drains, we're replacing, fixtures, we have to get a permit.
I just don't see how they could get 99% of the way and no one ever call for inspection and no one ever be suspicious of that.
Absolutely.
You're, yeah, I guess so. It
And-
just went through. These jobs are done in 2 days normally. These luxury bad jobs are done in 2 days normally. Very
read-
quick,
I read that.
it's jobs are done normally 1 or 2 days. And, it has to go, it has to be planned exactly like it is, so it's very easy for it not to be skipped over. It's not like a roofing job, where we have to call more often and it takes more steps. Here is a faster step. We do whatever has to be done in the slab or whatever, call the plumber normally calls for the inspection, and that's the way it goes through.
But Wayne, don't they have to get subcontractor affidavits for
Yes.
whatever they're doing? I mean, this is nothing like roofing. Roofing would be an easier permit, so I disagree with you. This is more difficult because you got electrical, you got plumbing.
No, electrical,
You
very
got
seldom we have electrical.
So you have to have subcontractor affidavits, things have to be submitted, shop drawings, how we're gonna do it, and then you have to get the
shop
stamp from
drawings-
the county.
No, because basically
Or from
what we're
the
doing is,
city.
well, because we are not, very seldom we go into the plumbing, we are basically changing the.
No, I understand. I
fixtures.
understand the construction
We're not
part.
getting into changing the plumbing lines or nothing. We're moving a drain from one place to another.
I get that, but typically the county wants to know how, or the city, excuse me, I work in Vero. The city wants to know how you're gonna do that, so that's why you have subcontractor affidavits where they're saying,
Oh, yes.
we're gonna do it this way, and here's what we're gonna do. There's a whole process that happens here, I deal with it every single day. To think, and this is how I started, I preface me talking today, to think that no permits were pulled, and the idea that you have the controls of that company, and this thing pushed all the way forward for this remodel, and you build him all the money, I don't know how you can expect, I'm not gonna speak for anybody on this board but myself, how am I supposed to believe that and understand that? Now, obviously, we're gonna hear from Mr. Ferguson, but 1 and 1 is not adding up to 2. That's just me.
Oh,
Okay. Any more questions? Does your partner have anything to add?
My name's Isaac Perez.
Okay, and your address, sir?
1310 Scarlet Oak Circle, Vero Beach, Florida.
Okay. Do you have anything to add? Were you on site?
I probably visited Mr. Ferguson one of the days after he had an issue or he had a challenge, and we came out and tried to see how we could fix
Could
it.
you speak into the mic? It's hard to hear you. Okay.
I tried, yeah, I came out once and I spoke to him maybe 2 or 3 times to see how we can get back to finish our job, and he wouldn't let us in. And then he did speak to Mr. Seligman. He doesn't remember, but he spoke to him, and we tried to get back in there, and he didn't want us back in the house. But I remember that they spoke.
Okay. So you both had a contact with Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Are we pretty
Yes,
much?
what is your position with the company?
I'm the manager.
Your what?
I'm the general manager.
Okay.
Are you also a relative of Sergio's?
Yes,
Son?
son-in-law.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Mr. Ferguson, do you have anything you'd like to add, or?
Excuse my cough, I'm a little hoarse
No
today
problem.
too.
It's-
Essentially, what they're saying is correct, okay? They were hired to do a job. They did the job, I was dissatisfied with the job, and I forbade them entrance into the house to finish said job, okay? I had originally set out to hire them to remodel my entire bathroom. Well, their salesperson, who is no longer with them, I told him, well, you know, if it's a scheduling problem, let's do it in sections. Then that way you guys have busy work if you need it, because we're not in like a dead hurry to have it all done in, you know, 2 or 3 days. So that was the direction that we went in. Initially, I wanted to take what used to be the walk-in closet and turn it into a walk-in shower. Okay? The 3 walls that compose the old closet area has no plumbing running through them. The one wall did have some electrical wiring running through it because of the light switch for the bathroom. The salesperson told us, okay, normally we have these done in 2 days, but since we've got to do some tear out and stuff, maybe 5 days at the most. Okay, that's fine. We don't have a problem with that. The bathroom's been in disrepair for 6 years. I can, you know, live with a few more days. IRC came out to find out where the drain line was. Their equipment that they were using to detect the drain line was malfunctioning. Instead of having somebody else show up from the company and bring, you know, their snake with a detector built into it off of their truck, they were using a little 4-foot hand snake with a video camera on the end of it, trying to find out which way the line went. It took a job that should have only took them 2 or 3 hours. They were there for 12 hours. That was just to get the floor cut, lay the new line in temporarily, so that when they fitted the shower pan, they could pour the concrete, fit the pan, put the walls up. Now, the luxury product is little more than a shower kit that you could buy at Home Depot. It's 1/8" ABS plastic that is vacuum formed to a specific shape and size. Originally, I wanted to turn that whole closet area into a shower. Ken, who is their sales guy, was like, okay, well, we can save you some money if we cut it back to this size and just do this area as the shower. Like, okay, fine. You know, it's gonna save me $4 grand. You know, let's just save a little bit of money. Well, the pan shows up and it's 4 inches. Like, it was supposed to be, you know, essentially floor height. You know, maybe 1.5 inch curb. Well, they can't do that because it's got to have spray foam on the base of it when they vacuum form it. He's trying to convince me that the spray foam is harder than fiberglass, and I'm sitting there with my thumbnail knocking chunks out of it. I'm like, no, I don't buy it. Well, they set the pan in, and there's still a 3-inch gap over here on the right-hand side of the pan. No. I said, if we need to furrow the wall just a little bit, that's fine. What they assumed, the plumber was gonna run the drain right out into the center of the floor and center the pan up on that drain, and there was gonna be 1.5 inches on both sides that they could furrow out and make it work. But he did it the proper way of, this is the wall that has the plumbing in it. It's a 4-foot pan, or 4.5 foot or whatever, so the drain needs to go here. Butted the pan up against the plumbing wall and the side wall. Well, that left a 3-inch gap over on the other end. I called, I talked to Isaac, I talked to the sales guy. I was like, this isn't gonna work. So they put in a requisition to the manufacturer for another pan. It came, it wasn't as tall. It went in a spot. Their installer came out, installed the walls after the plumbing was put in and everything. And to me, this is just my personal view, okay? The shower head, the bars, the valve itself are all substandard. You look on the box and it says made in China. It's a company I've never even heard of, even though it's supposed to be comparable to a Moen. I wouldn't believe it is. The valve was put in upside down. You have to turn it to where it's facing cold for hot and hot for cold. The plastic that was put on the walls was glued onto the gray sheetrock. There was no green board put up, because I was assured it wasn't required, because this stuff is waterproof. Nothing can get through it. Okay? The glass doors were not what was shown to us. The photos that we were shown had a glass door that essentially hung from a rod, and it had like pinch rollers on the rod. This is 2 nylon wheels mounted to the top of the door, and it hangs in a trap. The doors that were sent originally was for the 48-inch shower pan, which meant they would not close all the way because there was a gap. So they ordered shower doors for a 5-foot opening. Now, the opening, when you open the one door all the way to get into the shower, I can't even step into the shower this way. I have to turn sideways to get in, and that's a tight squeeze, because there's only a 2-foot opening.
That's it?
They offered to come out and, you know, finish the job, put in the vent, all that jazz. I was like, no, absolutely not. I said, you're not coming back in the house. One, because I really don't care for the product at this point. I said, your sales guy lied to me repeatedly. I said, when I tried to talk to you guys and come to some kind of equitable agreement, I mean, I called them and I even asked, I said, hey, I said, is there any chance of me getting $4,000 back? I said, and I'll just eat it and we'll call it even. No, I have operating costs of advertisement, insurance, that I've got to cover. That's what I was told. I was like, I realize you have these things, but that's stuff you would have to pay for whether I hired you or not. So instead of, other than willing to come out and finish the job, they were not willing to work with me at all. And I was essentially told I was SOL. So what am I going to do?
Right.
No, you're not coming back into the house. I won't allow it. Well, unfortunately now, because these guys didn't pull a permit, I can't get anybody to come in and finish or tear out what they did.
Right.
because nobody wants to touch it.
Yeah, nobody's gonna wanna touch it because they don't know what was done, and they're not gonna wanna put their license on it, I understand.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, I got questions too.
Was there any conversation at all about pulling a permit with the sales guy? at any
Initially,
point?
yes. When Ken sold us on this product, it was understood that there was permits being pulled and they were gonna cost X amount of dollars. Well, in talking to Wayne, when I went down and filed the complaint, permit would be like no more than $100 at the most. And according to Ken, I was under the impression that it was gonna be, you know, $300 or $400 to pull a permit, because we were dealing with something that was structural.
Did they tell you that they pulled a permit?
No.
Did you ever sign a permit?
Sign a permit?
Yeah.
No.
Because you'd be required to sign, and I know you have to sign the notice of commencement. I'm pretty sure you have to sign the permit as well as the owner. That didn't do a red flag for you though? Those are two important things, the permit signature and the notice of commencement. To let everybody know that it's starting.
The only thing we ever signed was the contract for them to start the work.
Okay. You talked about electrical and a wall. Was that moved?
Yeah, they had to move it to get the plumbing in.
Which contradicts the, we didn't do any electrical statement earlier, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, as a matter of fact, the box is still hanging out of the wall.
Your written statement in your words talks about them reporting to you, oh, well, we got your money, there ain't nothing you can do.
Essentially, that's what they were telling
Basically
me.
what they said. Is that verbatim what they said, meaning for word, or is that just your interpretation of what they said?
No, I mean, what he told me was he had operating costs that he had to cover,
So
and
it's
he
your
wasn't gonna give me any
interpretation.
money back.
Okay.
I have a question. I just don't understand why you paid him in full.
Because, ma'am, I was raised in the Midwest, it was okay, if you have a contract with somebody, when it's quote-unquote finished, you pay for it, okay?
But it wasn't finished.
They were supposed, after we paid in full, they were supposed to come out and put the vent fan in. At that point, the shower part of the project would have been totally completed. Okay, their electrician that was gonna put the fan in was gonna the switch for it was gonna be repositioned, re-anchored, blah, blah, blah. And because I wouldn't let them back into the house, that never got done. But it wasn't until after they left and the following day, and I was looking at it, and it was like, you know, I shouldn't have paid them.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? I forgot it.
I have a question. Did they install a light over top of the shower?
No, there was already a light in there.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, it's still just the flush mount, you know, ceramic screw-in, the bulb deal. That was supposed to have been changed when the vent and stuff went in as well. Because it was supposed to be a recessed light, but.
So that fixture's still there in the shower?
Yeah, it's still above the shower, yeah.
And it's probably not watertight.
Yeah.
No.
Mr. Ferguson, were there any, at any time, did you get any kind of a plan or a sketch, a little drawing or anything as to what was going to be done?
No.
Did you ask for one?
No.
Did you have at any time get a list of equipment and the things that were going to be put into the project?
Other than verbally, no.
Verbally don't cut it. So what you have is a contract to do certain things that you assumed were going to be done.
Yeah.
And the only fellow that you talked with about it was the fellow that brought the contract to you and you signed it.
Precisely.
Who was a salesman.
Precisely. I mean, if it gives you any kind of an idea of what a cluster this is, their installer doesn't even work for them anymore.
Thomas Lipari?
Well, he is a general contractor and usually deals with subs, particularly for
Right.
electrical and plumbing and so forth. That's understandable, and I think everybody here understands that. However, that doesn't remove at all the responsibility to get permits to do work. Listening to what you've said, it sounds like there was a great deal more done, both structurally and plumbing-wise and electrical, than what we understood. So it sounds like to me that it's going to be a very difficult thing here if they don't come back and do the job and get inspections. Unless, and this I think would have to come from the building official, unless a release is signed so that you can get someone else in there. Then you're going to have a to-do as far as that's concerned, maybe legally, insofar as anything is concerned. But they should be given an opportunity to rectify the problems that they've created, to finish a job that you've already paid for, and to get the inspections that are needed. If the inspections are hidden, the work is hidden, it needs to be opened up so that an inspector can see them. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, for them to do that, go ahead.
No, I just was going to say, I mean, even if you get another contractor, it still remains that there's areas that have been covered up that we did not inspect, and we need to be able to inspect somehow, some way. So a new contractor would then either start from scratch or have to uncover some of the work that was done by someone else in order for those inspections to take place.
A new contractor will therefore become responsible for the work that has already been done.
Right, he'll have to inspect it himself and determine whether he feels that it's done properly or not.
I've got a couple of things, because I know we're running a little, but to me, there's three things here. We've got bad workmanship, it sounds like, valves plumb wrong, some other things. We got no permit, which is probably the biggest thing. But then we also have the issue of quality. Now, to me, I feel that in some cases it's buyer beware. When somebody buys something, so the quality of the product, I don't really think, in my opinion, I don't want to speak for anybody else, that's not in question. I'm not talking about the other two, the bad workmanship and the no permit. There's no excuse for that. I would say, I think this gentleman right here is 100% correct. There's the option of having them come back in and see what they can do to rectify this, meet the code requirements for the county. But there's also the option, and I don't know if the owner is willing to do it, of taking everything out and returning your money. So there's that on the table as well. I would ask this, is there any way to gain access to these areas that need to be inspected from behind the wall? Meaning that there's another wall behind it, there's no way? No, so it's like block or something?
Two of the walls are exterior walls, those are definitely load bearing. The other two walls are essentially interior walls, they're not load bearing. But the only way you can get to it is going through our bedroom.
Okay. The last thing would be, you talked about receiving $4,000 back. Would that still be on the table as option 3?
Yeah,
to remedy the situation? And then you would hire somebody to open everything up for the county, because you still have to somehow get a contractor.
At this point, even if I was to allow these gentlemen back into the house to technically finish the job, that would still have to be opened up, okay? The floor plan would have to be taken out, but to take it out, you gotta take the walls off. So all 3 of the walls would have to be stripped off, which means the shower door's gotta come down too, pan's gotta come out. Well, at that point, their product is out of the house anyway.
Do you feel you could do that for $4,000?
I mean, quite honestly, my wife is so frustrated with it at this point. She's telling me, screw it, forget everything as long as we can simply get somebody in here to rip all of this out and do what we want and get the bathroom done and finished. I don't care if it costs us $12,000. And you know the old adage, you keep mama happy, because if she ain't happy long enough, you ain't happy with half your stuff. So,
Absolutely.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Ferguson?
I just have a couple. Just want to clarify the work that happened. So there was a closet that got converted to a shower, right?
Yeah.
There was some electrical that needed to be relocated in there. And did they cut the slab? Did they cut a trench in the slab and lay new pipe in the slab? And then they poured concrete? They backfilled and poured concrete?
Yeah.
To patch it up?
Yeah, they essentially used a jackhammer, cut a trench in the floor to lay the drain. Ended up puncturing the line, fixed it, put in I forget what he called it. No, it wasn't, that goes in underneath the pan, but where they connected into the main line,
How about a clean out?
it wasn't a sweep, but it wasn't a 45, because it was a three-way hookup.
Yeah, it's fine.
But then they ran over to where the drain was gonna come up through the floor, come up into the shower pan.
And the cabinets and sink or anything, was any of that touched?
What?
Cabinets and sink, was any of that touched?
Your
I
vanity?
still didn't understand you.
Cabinets or sinks?
Your vanity or any of that was
They
that?
had to go under the one wall.
But they didn't swap them out or anything like that?
No, there was no drain there originally.
Okay.
I think what he's asking, you didn't get a new vanity or a new sink
No,
or any of
no,
that stuff?
that was something that was
just a
coming later, but
This was just a shower?
yes, that was just a shower.
And who was supervising from Panda? Was anybody on site from Panda?
As far as I knew and I understood, that was Ken's job, which was their salesperson.
The salesperson, okay.
And as far as Isaac coming out, he may have drove out and got out and looked and then left. But if he did, I don't recall seeing him, but that's been several months ago, so.
I have another question. So, of the three things that we talked about, and we do not have the autonomy to enforce any of these, but I'm just asking because I would like that the other gentleman come back up after you. I do want to ask him. Of the $4,000 check refund, or the remove and give a total refund of the repair, which one, as the owner, Mr. Ferguson, would you like to see? And like I said, we do not have the autonomy to enforce any of that, but.
Well, ideally, sure, if I could get it, if I could get them to come out and rip everything out and give me my money back, hey, fine. That would be great. But I'm a realist.
So you would say that's number one, 4,000 number two, and them repairing is number three in your priority list?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be repaired one way or another,
I mean by
provided I
them.
can get
I mean by
another
them.
contractor to come out and do it, but.
Okay.
But like I said, nobody will touch it because they never pulled a permit to begin with, so I'm kind of in a holding pattern at this point.
Right.
I'd like to ask you a question. Wayne,
Yes.
from what you've heard and what you've seen in the contract and what Mr. Ferguson has talked about, does this look like it should have had a drawing, some sort of a sketch or drawing showing what was being done, what was being changed, and so forth?
Yeah, absolutely. If they would have come in to apply for a permit, we would have at least had a floor plan showing where this closet is in relation to everything else, how this plumbing is going to be run, a scope of work, what needs to be done electrically, plumbing-wise or structural.
And knowing that or accepting that, wouldn't a certified state contractor be aware of that?
Certainly.
Shouldn't he
Yes.
be? That's my opinion too.
He's actually required to be aware of that. Required.
Right. A plan is required for any kind of alteration permit.
If nobody has any more questions for Mr. Ferguson, we'll have Wayne come up and summarize the situation.
Sure, I can do that. Were you
Okay.
going to bring the contractor
Yeah,
back up?
I would like to ask him just that last question, I would,
Okay, I'm sorry.
real quick.
Okay, I do have one quick question for Wayne. though. With IRC being the subcontracted plumber, wasn't it their responsibility as far as their part of the work to check to see if a permit was pulled?
Yeah, they share some blame in this
Well,
whole
they have
thing
some.
too, yes, absolutely. We didn't have a contract from them. I mean, all I had from you was just a copy of their card, so it was hard for me to
Yeah, well,
build
there
a
was no
case.
contract between me and IRC.
Right.
That's,
Right, it was hard for
Between
me
them.
to build a case because they weren't really listed anywhere.
Right.
So, but yes, they share some responsibility in this.
I mean, really, it's the general contractor's responsible for all the subcontractor
Yes.
affidavits. He's also responsible to make sure that all his subs have workers' comp. If they don't have it,
Yeah.
he has to provide it. There's a whole list of laws that go with having that license for him. So we're gonna bring, could step back up there, sir?
Okay, Wayne, would
Yeah,
you?
please. No, I just want to ask him that last
Okay.
question,
I'm sorry.
if I could, please. So you've heard that when we talked to the owner, Mr. Ferguson, the ultimate option, number one, would be to remove and give him, refund his money. The second one would be to give him a $4,000 credit, where you would pay him that, and the third one would be to repair. Your thoughts, sir?
I would like to repair it. We are really sorry that this whole thing happened. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. We want this to end up in a proper way and having the bathroom properly done. I hate to know that a customer is not happy with the job we've done. That to me means more than anything else. That would be what I would like to do. And the second option would be give them the $4,000. I mean, really, to tear the whole thing apart and throw it away, I mean, it's really.
Were you aware the shower valve was plumbed backwards?
I have, sir, no.
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 Okay.
I mean, again, we did not, it was not, the job was not finished. And that's really the whole thing. And yes, it is my responsibility, you're right. This will not happen.
And given the opportunity to go back in and fix it,
Yes.
would you be the overseer or would you trust another person?
No, I will have the proper, don't worry, I'll have the proper persons.
Someone that you-
Yes, don't worry.
that you know?
It will be properly done.
I mean, we want to know that if Mr. Ferguson has
I wanna
someone
make sure
from
that
your
he's-
company, that it's going to be somebody that he can talk to, somebody that knows the situation. We don't want him to be frustrated anymore.
No, he can call me directly to my cell phone. He can call me directly to my whatever he wants to, and I will go to his place whenever necessary to myself.
I think that's what I wanted to hear.
Be happy that he is happy with this. I really apologize. I was really, again, I had even forgotten I had spoken to Mr. Ferguson at a given moment. I don't like these issues. I don't like really to have issues with customers. That's not my way of doing my work.
And did you
yes,
pay IRC Plumbing in full, or did you hold money from them, retainage or anything?
No, we paid them in full. We paid everybody in full. We got paid. You know, again,
Okay.
you asked a very good question, and well,
Okay.
I'm just sorry this whole thing
Okay.
happened. And yes, we would like to finish the job done right. Whatever it probably cost us a little more than $4,000.
Wayne, question, is Mr. Ferguson out any other monies besides what's in the contract? In other words, did he have to pay anything to the city to get this going? I'm not sure how that works.
No, we haven't required him to.
So it's just the contract?
He knows that he has some
Okay.
unpermitted work there, so.
Okay.
When that permit does come in, if it turns out that Panda is going to be the contractor and they do come in, there is a provision in our fees that if you do work without a permit, it's $300 or double the permit fee, whichever is greater.
Wayne, what would the building department require if they were allowed to go back in and open it up for inspection? How much of that what do you require they do? You need to see everything that they changed?
Yeah, well, we'd have to be convinced that what they did was proper. So we may have to go visit the job and see what needs to be done, what needs to be taken out so we can see what we need to see. I mean, there was some structural work and plumbing work done there was been concealed. We would need to know that that was done properly, and they'd have to expose whatever they need to expose to make us satisfied that that work was done properly.
To be sure that everything is to code and properly done, but what your inspections are going to do are not going to speak to workmanship.
Not really, no. We don't get too involved in that.
No,
I mean, that's not really in the code.
That's a code.
Yeah, building code doesn't have anything to do with workmanship, unfortunately.
That's the problem with not having specifications, plans, and so forth.
And do you have anything else to summarize the situation?
Oh, yeah, I'll come up and summarize.
Okay.
Okay, so this disciplinary hearing, again, was with Panda Roofing, Panda Contractors, and it was the cause for disciplinary action was failure to obtain a building permit for structural, electrical, and plumbing work. There was a contract that was written to Mr. Ferguson on 1/29/18 to do a bathroom remodel. There was no permit ever pulled, no inspections completed. It was testified here that 98% of the work was completed. It sounds like there may be some unsafe conditions if he had a wall switch that's still hanging out, things like that. And we're in a situation where the contractor has admitted that he is guilty of not pulling a permit. The board has the option of fining or suspending licenses, revoking permitting privileges, revoking licenses. The fines can not exceed $500
Per day? Of non-compliance?
total for this cause of disciplinary action.
For the total of non-compliance, it's 500 as the aggregate?
Yes.
Not, okay.
Thank you, Wayne.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm going to give you my opinion, which is worth very little, I'm aware. I do not believe that failure to pull a permit is a revocable offense. I also believe that the contractor should be given the opportunity to rectify the situation. Get a permit in order to do it, get the inspections, and then he would be placed in the position of whatever guarantees are there, he'd have to live up to, and he'd have to do the job and do it properly. As far as workmanship is concerned, you ought to look into that yourself. You're a certified general contractor since 1973 with a license in the area of 6,000. There are now 60-some thousand. I think I took my exam at the same time you did, a little earlier. And I think you should step in here and show what a certified general contractor in the state of Florida is worth and take care of the damn problem.
Thank you, Mr. Crockett. We have any deliberations or questions in the board?
Well, the only thing I would say is I agree with this gentleman. I don't think that it's something for revoking a license. However, since the $500 is aggregate, I do think that should be discussed. And obviously not knowing the full scope, it's hard to put a timeline on it, but I think it should be expedited by the contractor to get this done. I think this is something we should probably form into a motion, which I'd like somebody else to do if they could, as mine would be too specific, and I'd rather not.
I think a lot of it hangs in here as to whether Mr. Ferguson is going to allow him to come back and finish the job and do right by it.
Well, the only way they can come back and finish the job and make it right, like I said, they would have to tear out everything that's already been installed so that Wayne can inspect it. Who's going to eat that cost? It's not going to be me.
No.
No, the contractor would.
You've paid for your job, Mr. Ferguson.
He's already offered to do.
You've already paid for it.
At this point, I do not believe that what they sold me was worth $12,000.
That's to me.
Especially after I did some research.
As I said, that's a whole different issue. That's
Right.
a civil issue.
Yeah, that's after the
meaning
fact.
You could.
Right.
You entered into a
claims.
contract without knowing what you were doing.
Right.
No plans.
I understand
no,
that.
yeah.
At this point, all I'm looking for from my own point of view and my own peace of mind, okay, is that this whole permit and license issue be resolved so that I can possibly get another contractor to come in, because I'm having all that ripped out. Every time I look at it, all I see is $12,000 that went. That was an expensive lesson, but it was mine to learn.
Well, if you're going to rip I don't understand what you want the contractor to do then. If you're going to tear it all out,
Demolition,
then it would be exposed, and then you could get a contractor.
Yes.
Right,
After
once
inspection.
the city comes out and inspects it.
Do you want the contractor
No,
to take it all out?
I don't want him back in the house.
So you don't want him back in the house, that option's off the
No.
table?
Okay, but you
Yeah.
definitely don't want him to come and do anything.
No.
Okay.
I was lied to repeatedly. I was essentially, pardon my French, but I was essentially told to piss off. I got your money. There ain't nothing you can do about it. I spoke to a lawyer that told me the same thing. So, at this point, I'm done with Panda altogether.
Okay.
I mean, I only hired them because years ago they had redone one of my mother's bathrooms, and she was extremely pleased with them. Well, Brad Reardon worked for them at the time as their project manager. Since then, he's started his own company, and he quit working for them because they pressured him to push this product and to sell it, and he refused to do so because he felt it was immoral to charge somebody that kind of money for such an inferior product. But that's between them.
Right,
Okay.
we can't go into that.
Then I do think, Wayne, unfortunately, I think we'd have to talk to Mr. Seligman one more time. When I say unfortunately, to hold everybody up, I think we would have to talk to him one more time to see if he'd be willing to do any kind of restitution. Since Mr. Ferguson does not want him, period, in his house, the only thing that they can do is give him some restitution. Then we can handle the board stuff through a motion as far as any penalties, but I want to see if we can.
We can't give him any restitution. This man's, he's ready to come back to work there and get it done.
He also said that the 4,000 was on the table if that was the last.
We don't have the authority, I don't believe.
No, we don't have the autonomy to do that.
To award anything.
No.
To Mr. Ferguson.
No, that's not what I'm
The only
saying.
thing we're dealing with is the permit issue and the fact
But
that
we
the
don't
job
think
didn't
that
get
it would be
done.
prudent to at least ask him on that last step for this gentleman?
Yeah, I think you can discuss it here, but I would just warn the board, or caution the board, that you can't cross that line between what's civil
Correct.
and what the board powers are. The board powers is this: we're here for a disciplinary hearing against the contractor, not to mitigate their problems or their contractual issues.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can discuss it, and maybe that would help Mr. Ferguson. but we can't enforce it.
No, I understand that. I had prefaced me even talking about on that,
Right.
saying that we don't have the autonomy to do it. It's in the minutes.
Right.
So, yeah, I know that. I just,
Okay.
he said it.
Okay.
Mr. Seligman, I'd probably just butchered your name.
I feel that
He said it was on the table.
you can discuss it, sure.
I mean, whatever you people want to discuss or resolve or whatever, that's fine. Like I said, all I want is this whole issue with the permit resolved so that I can possibly get somebody out there to do what I actually need done.
And the unfortunate thing, sir, is, like Wayne was saying, we can't really do anything other than these two little things as far as the license, which we've discussed, and a fine, an aggregate fine on that. There's not much we can do to really help you on this. That's why I was just wondering if the contractor would be willing
Well,
to
if
talk
I
to
can
you.
manage to get a contractor to call you guys and say, okay, I possibly want to do a job here, is there an issue? If you guys are willing to say, well, no, it's been rectified, it's cleared up now, if you want to go ahead and do the job for him, that's fine, just pull a permit.
And you'll have to tear everything out, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having everything ripped
Okay.
out. I mean,
Well, I think those variables kind of changed, especially when you said that you don't want them inside your unit. That's why I would like to just hear from, I've already said that we do not have the autonomy to enforce any of this.
Right.
We only have two things we could do up here.
Right.
But I would like to hear from Mr. Seligman if he's willing to give
Okay.
any restitution, knowing that he's not welcome back and basically he's done at this point.
All we can do is penalize the contractor.
Exactly, but I think we can hear from Mr. Seligman. Mr. Seligman, did you want to comment on that? Did you want to comment on that, sir? Because when you left, before you left the podium, you said that would be on the table, but that's not what you preferred.
Well, I want to finish a job as a contractor.
But he's not going to allow that, so.
Then it's something that it would have to be discussed between us and Mr. Ferguson in a different kind of venue. I think that I have admitted my failings with the city of Sebastian, and I've apologized. I will get fined or whatever. I appreciate your thinking, and as a general contractor and a civil engineer that I am, I really feel very, very bad about what has happened, and I'm not. I like to finish what I start, and that's what I want to do. Now, any other thing, I'll be more than glad to speak to Mr. Ferguson,
And that's obviously your right, like we talked about numerous times, we have no autonomy to enforce that. But
Exactly.
Thank you, sir. I don't want to hold you up anymore. Thank you.
I'd like to ask a question of Mr. Seligman. What's the primary thrust of your business? Is it roofing?
Roofing, and we got involved recently in this with luxury baths. And I will, if you guys, if you gentlemen want to look at the website of luxury baths and who they are, we checked a number of companies before we got involved with luxury baths. They're a top-notch company. They're very, very good at what they do, and their product is excellent. It is expensive, yes, much more expensive than other products, but their product is excellent. And
was this what
we did wrong? Has nothing to do with the product, okay? Again, it was apparently a poorly done job, which I wish I could fix.
Was this what you were doing for Mr. Ferguson?
What?
What you just talked about there?
Luxury bath. We've done luxury bath. Yes, that's what we did.
This is what you were doing for him?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions, et cetera, or I'd like to call for a motion?
Oh, could we have a little
Sure.
discussion a little bit here?
Actually,
Yes,
somebody
sir.
would make a motion, it would be seconded, and then we can discuss till forever. Somebody has to make a motion first.
Make a motion. Charge him $500 with the understanding that if he fails to pull another permit, we pull his license.
I didn't quite hear the last part.
Charge him the $500. Charge him the $500 fine with the understanding that if he forgets to pull another permit, we pull his license.
Ever,
Oh,
then we would pull, we would give ourselves.
If a permit's required, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I second it. Now you can discuss.
Now we can talk about it a little bit.
Okay, let's have discussion.
The problem, as I see it, for Mr. Ferguson, is even though we do this, let's assume we go ahead through with this, that doesn't change the fact that the permit was never pulled and there were no inspections. It's still sitting there like that, and it's going to be very difficult to get another contractor to come in there and do anything because no inspections were made. The fact that he has been fined, if that turns out to be that way, and will have to get permits for other permittable jobs, that's all well and good. But that's not going to help Mr. Ferguson. I know that in the past there have been instances where one party has gotten a release from the other party to allow that another contractor to come in. And the fact that Mr. Ferguson is paid in full, he may or may not be willing to give such a release. And if he did, that would open the way for another contractor. On the other hand, that release would be very interesting looking for Mr. Seligman too, because there's a possibility of a civil suit here that's floating around, a possibility. So I don't know what you're going to do. I know what we are going to do, probably, but that's about as far as we can go with it. I wish we could go further, but we can't.
Wayne, I have a question. Are any of these fines, do any of them get reported to like business and professional regulations?
Yes, if they're state licensed, we are obligated to notify the state that there's been a disciplinary action taken locally.
If we find them, then they will have a notification?
Yes.
Okay.
I have one other thing I'd like to say real quick. When we make whatever we do here, because he's a certified contractor, that gets reported to the state board.
Yes, that's what we were just saying. It goes to the Department of Business.
There's no question. I know when you have a registered contractor, the state board says they don't have any authority to do anything and always give it back to us, like the last time we had a meeting.
Yes.
We do have, however, the authority to penalize a certified general contractor.
Yes.
Okay.
Wayne, do you ever send the minutes of the meeting to the state?
Yeah, usually what we'll send is a copy of the agenda, basically everything. In case they want to make a case, we'll give them everything, all the backup, and I'll put together a letter stating what.
Do you give them the minutes from the meeting, what we actually said, or no?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Call for the question.
Okay, Mr. Ferguson, you have a question? Come up to the podium, please.
I'm at this point, I mean, listening to y'all.
Please go to the microphone.
Listening to y'all, I can't help but wonder. I mean, I realize there's not anything you guys can do other than fine him or possibly suspend his permit ability. But at the same time, and I'm not saying either one of these gentlemen are 100% responsible because they did delegate to somebody else. But at the same time, I can't help but sit there and wonder, you know, did the person they delegated this responsibility to do them as much of an injustice as he did me? I mean, how many other people did they do jobs for that he didn't pull a permit for?
That's unknown.
At which point it's going to put these guys even further in the hole.
But that's just the cost of doing business as a general contractor.
Exactly. Yeah, I suppose, but It was something that just occurred to me, and
There's a
It's very nice of you to think of it that way.
Absolutely. It's a very optimistic way to look at that. There is a whole list that, as a general contractor, he's aware of it because we all get tested. Everybody that's licensed up here, we've all gotten tested on this. There's a whole list of his responsibilities. At the end of the day, he's responsible for everything. It does not matter. So the lack of controls that he had and all that, that belongs to him. The only thing that I'm sorry about, sir, is that, you know, you have two choices really. You can give the contractor an opportunity to come in and fix it, or you could say no, which means you're gonna have to hire somebody to tear everything out. So I do feel for you on that with your choice.
Lesson learned.
But understand.
Any other discussion? Okay, we've had a motion and a second. We'll take a vote, please. Yes, a roll call for the vote, please. Oh, I'm sorry. That wasn't included, was it? Suspended for, right. If there's another job he hasn't pulled a permit for in Sebastian, then we will pull his ability to work in Sebastian.
Can I just interject with that?
Yes, sir.
And then the motion can stay as it is. But if that was to happen, we would bring it back to the board for you to take that action.
Okay, for us to
but,
take that action,
But you can have it
okay.
on record as a motion that way.
Good.
But we would not make it automatic,
Okay,
you know, without coming back to the board.
okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So, Mr. Wilcher,
Yes.
Ms. Paris,
Agreed.
Mr. Hosey,
Yes.
Ms. Carbano,
Yes,
Mr. Monero, Mr. Fortier,
Yes.
and Mr. Crockett.
Aye.
Unanimous.
okay, sir. It's a $500 fine. And if we find any more that are not permitted, we'll see you again in the future. Okay. We'll go to building official matter. You could leave if you want, or you don't have to stay for this. Building official matters.
Yes. I just wanted to quickly discuss two things. One recently, on August 8th, there was an ordinance that was approved by City Council that affects Chapter 26 and specifically the membership terms, filling of vacancies for the construction board. So what was, just summarize here, what was basically attempted to be accomplished is that recognizing that the way that the ordinance was written, it limited to contractors that were actively engaged in construction. It did not give the ability for someone who was retired, essentially, to serve as a member, or at least it was a little ambiguous. So to clarify that language, it says a member who formerly held a license or certificate but retired with that license or certificate in good standing may be considered qualified for an appropriate seat. And so, and that's a good thing for the board. And the only thing that, caveat to that is if any of the member, if at any time during their term no longer possesses the required qualifications because of adverse action being taken against his or her license or certificate by a proper authority, such member shall be automatically suspended for 30 days. So as long as you're in good standing, nothing happens. After that,
time you can serve on the board as a member. So that wasn't really clear, and so our city clerk and our city attorney got together and clarified that language, so I just want to make you aware of that. The other thing is the section of the construction, chapter 26, section 26, 192, talks about the election of officers, and then the person selected as a chairperson, vice chairperson, shall have served 2 years as a regular member and have attended 90% of the meetings. So to allow everyone to participate, the boards, I got this from our city clerk, the boards usually take the election and vice chair, for chair and vice chair on the agenda for each year. So the last time we did that was in March of 2017. We haven't brought it back up this year. So I want to leave it up to the board either to discuss it tonight or we can put it on the next agenda. But I think we should either elect new or reaffirm chair and vice chair positions on the board. So I'll leave it up to the board to decide whether you want to do that tonight or you want to do that on the next agenda.
Want to put it on the next agenda, you say?
We can. Or
Fine with me.
okay, very good. We'll do that.
Thanks, Wayne.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Board matters, anyone have any, thing? Okay, attorney matters, he's not here. 15 minutes to the public. Okay, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 7:27.